Hello everyone! Welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 945 of our daily content grind, and today I want to take a look at something that's happening next month. So if you are lucky, there's going to be a theater nearby you this 15th, 18th, or 19th of May that is going to be airing the first 4 episodes of the original Generation 1 cartoon. I can't remember any time these episodes have ever been aired on the big screen, so this is going to be pretty special, I would say, to see them up as literally as big as they've ever been played. It's, kind of awesome. Kind of awesome. I'm fortunate enough to find out I'm actually going to have this air somewhere in my area, so I'm actually going to get the chance to see this. I'm excited. However, for those who kind of want to prep, or for those who aren't going to be going to see it, I thought I would take a look back at the first 4 episodes, just to kind of prime myself and just figure out how well do I actually remember these episodes. And the truth is, they're weird episodes. They're very weird episodes. You have to remember, for the first 3 episodes, the first run, the first miniseries, they really hadn't figured out exactly how the rules of the universe were or how some things worked. They weren't even sure yet of what characters were going to be prominent. That only started in episode 4, which is this weird transitional period where they're trying to go from some of the oddness of the first miniseries into the series proper and start becoming episodic. It's odd. So I want to take a look at some of the oddities with you just to show you just how much these old episodes stand out from the rest of the series. And that starts with things like this famous scene on the dam, where we get literally the first go-to extra accessory for any Optimus Prime or Megatron, the Energon Axe and the Energon Mace. Now, of course, iconic scene, this screenshots like this, you've probably seen all over the internet as far as the Transformer fans go. It's weird to think, one, this fight scene is over very, very quickly, and they will never use these weapons again. At any point in the series, they will never, ever be seen wielding their melee weapons again. There's going to be an episode later on where they were literally fighting each other with crystal swords instead of drawing the Energon weapons. It's a little bit odd. At least it gave us some cool accessories for Masterpiece toys. I'll give it that. Here's another famous screen cap that you've probably seen before. Random seekers on Cybertron in different color schemes, So we have a purple seeker. We have the guy in the back in blue that's mostly Thundercracker, but not quite. And then we have this this kind of deep orange one, this kind of yellow orange one in the back that became Sunstorm. However, this is only one of the weird scenes when it comes to the Seekers, because the artist just started adding in Seekers wherever they needed the Decepticons to look like they had more going on. For instance, who's this guy? Okay, so I see Skywarp and I see Thundercracker. I see them very poorly drawn. Though I will admit I'm also screen capping an AI upscale that was on YouTube that's very badly done. So, excuse some of the poor quality. Some things are not meant to upscale. Who is this guy at the top? Who is this guy at the top who looks more like he's trying to cram himself into Rumble's color scheme? I never saw FunPub make this one. I've never seen an outcry for the all purple Seeker, or the lavender lilac. What kind of shade of purple do we want to call him? The prototype one, the one who looks like a prototype that hasn't been colored yet. I haven't seen that one in any of the multi-packs yet, though I have seen some that are in this shot. Look at this. Look at this. Okay, number one, there's 6 blue Seekers in this shot. 6 of them, and only one vaguely looks like Thundercracker. Everyone else is just kind of there. And they're all decidedly shorter than Megatron. It's like Megatron's it's like Megatron is leading a field trip from the Seeker school. So I've seen pale blue Seekers. We got that in one of the multi-packs recently. Haven't seen any of the others. You know, the swarm of Thundercracker clones. I haven't seen that one yet. As long as we're on Seekers, I kind of like this scene too. They hadn't figured out exactly what to do with their arm cannons in the first scene, so they take them off of their arm and fire them like rifles, even though Starscream later in the episode is seen just firing it straight off of his arm like you would traditionally expect. Just a weird little observation. There's a lot of weird observations in this video, by the way. I'm not nitpicking. I'm not going like, wow, man, this animation sucked. I'm more looking at it as is they didn't really understand exactly what they were going to do yet. And I think that's kind of fascinating to look back in hindsight. For instance, Spike and Bumblebee really only get screen time together halfway through episode 4. They're not a thing for the first 3 episodes. In fact, Bumblebee really doesn't get a whole lot of screen time in the first 3 episodes. It's only after that and then going into the series proper where they have time to go, oh, this little yellow one is going to be real popular. We should probably feature them more. We should probably have them with our point of view character as well, so kids will identify. So let's see. There's other oddball stuff. There's other stuff. So the reason we didn't get Bumblebee as the focal point in the first 3 episodes is because really the focus goes to Hound, who was originally supposed to be Spike's friend on Earth. He was the one who liked Earth the best. He's the one who really wanted to be friendly with humans, at least as far as his original Bible description goes. Like in the actual series Bible, that was his characterization. Yeah, little yellow bot kind of ate his lunch and just has been running with it for 40 years. I feel bad for Hound. Hound gets very neglected in modern Transformers, considering he was supposed to be the original main character, you know, under Optimus. That's kind of unfortunate. Kind of unfortunate how it worked out for Hound. This scene's in there too. Make of that what you will. Here's another famous thing for the first 3 episodes. So, yeah, Autobots flew. This was the weird thing. So, me as like growing up, it's when I didn't have easy access to the original episodes, I was always under the impression that the Decepticons ruled Cybertron because they had the advantage of flight. Because the Decepticons could always fly, regardless of if their vehicle mode was capable of flight or not. But I totally forgot that the Autobots could fly at the beginning as well. Now, after episode 3, they're landlocked. No one ever flies again without a jetpack or without someone who can actually fly helping them. So it's super weird to go back to these episodes and see Autobots flying around like Superman. It's just odd. Something else that's odd that no one really seems to bring up is the fact that they could swim too. You know, these bots probably weigh dozens of tons. They are very, very giant things. I mean, at minimum, they probably weigh at least 2 tons. You know, the weight of like cars and trucks from the 80s or whatever the weight of their vehicle mode is, plus all the stuff it takes to be a Cybertronian as well. So, like, even if we're like being generous, even something that's 5 tons should not be capable of floating if you are not specifically shaped like a boat. And I don't know what kind of like powerful ballast they have on Cybertron, but apparently it's pretty significant. Also, when they're in water like this, they forget they can fly. They swim around instead of just getting out of the water and flying around. There's another thing that comes up a lot in the first 3 episodes that never really gets touched on again for the most part, is hand swapping. It's Transformers with like the hand goes into the forearm and some kind of utility pops out. In this case, Skywarp has a fire extinguisher that he never uses again. There's another scene where Jazz has like a tow winch that comes out and he never uses that again. This pretty much boils down for the rest of the series into a gimmick for Ironhide. He's really the only one I can remember beyond this who has like hands that fold in and then like new tools or things come out of his forearms. I'm sure if I look, there's one or two more occasions of it, but it seems like in the first 3 episodes, everyone could do something like that. Even Optimus and Megatron did that in order to get their Energon weapons. It's just odd to me because it's an ability that should be very useful. They never touch on it again. Though Ironhide has my favorite one, who has an entire drill. Has an entire drill that just pops out of his forearm. He's very happy about it. He's very happy about it. Prowl looks concerned. I would be concerned like that too if my friend was holding a gigantic drill rifle and openly openly like laughing about it. Yeah, he's way too happy about this. Speaking of equipment that never gets used again, Optimus actually used the battle platform. He actually used his trailer for combat. This is seen, I think, one more time. I think you get to actually see this fight, or at least take a shot in Fire in the Sky, I want to say. I want to say Fire in the Sky. You actually get to see, same episode with the crystal swords, by the way. You actually do get to see the drone pop out of the trailer and take a few shots. But beyond that, again, the writers just kind of forget to utilize it. They kind of forget to show off the other half of the Optimus Prime toy. Now, granted, this gets blown up immediately. It gets like one shot off and then Megatron just decimates it. But, they tried. They actually tried. Roller also fits into this category. I'm sure Roller popped up in other episodes, but for the life of me, I cannot remember them. And when he did, he certainly wasn't treated the way he's treated here. Roller is actually mentioned by name. Jazz refers to him as a tough little Autobot. And Optimus, remember, Optimus sent him into the mines in order to check on Spike, actually Sparkplug and Bumblebee. They were palling around before Spike was a thing with Bumblebee. And Optimus Prime screams in terror when the whole thing explodes with Roller in it, which will lead one to believe that Roller has some kind of importance to him. And then he's never used again. Then we never see Roller again. I think we do. It's just not nearly as noticeable. All right. Here's a shot that's always bothered me. I don't know why, but it's just something that's just always thrown me off. And it's in episode 4. It's in Transport to Oblivion. And it's where we first see Shockwave. And Shockwave is just there in gun mode, taking shots somewhere. And the first words he says when he turns back into robot mode is that he's losing power. Okay, why were you just in gun mode shooting into the distance if you're so low on power? This is very weird. It's never explained. In the first episode, the first time you see Shockwave, he is also in gun mode, and then he just kind of transforms back to robot mode to listen to Megatron's next order. He's not, he doesn't seem like he's set as a battle defense or anything. He's just kind of on a high platform. I feel like it's because the writers had no idea how to handle Shockwave in his gun mode. He doesn't ever, one time his gun mode is actually used by another Decepticon, but that's Bruticus who gets to use him. So he never size changes the way Megatron does. So you never actually see a scene where he backflips into gun mode and Soundwave catches him and starts shooting down Autobots. Shockwave doesn't do that. So it feels like they struggled just to figure out how to present the fact that he has an alt mode. And their solution was just have him standing around as a giant gun and we'll pretend he's doing some science thing. This is a telescope. This is a power transference. This is, this episode he's working on the space bridge. So, maybe he's actually, doing some long distance welding. I don't know. You figure it out. You're going to go watch this in May. You tell me what he's doing, because they never explain it. It just makes no sense to me. This shot exists in these episodes. So, at some point, Pat Lee time traveled and just did this one shot of animation for, in 1984. Something to laugh at. It's just an odd thing. In general, get used to just wild changes in the animation style, particularly going from episode 3 to episode 4. You can tell during the three-parter they were really trying to impress. A lot of the animation looks really, really smooth. But they do have those weird moments where things are off model, typical for G1, and then once we get to episode 4, you can definitely tell there was a different team working on it. It's a bit of a jump. It's a bit of a jump. So brace yourself for it. Then there's the plot itself, which is kind of a fascinating idea. At one point in More Than Meets the Eye, the Autobots are doing something that you would expect Decepticons to do, which is being deceitful, creating the fake rocket base, right down to the fact they're wearing lab coats because rocket scientists. I also love how Gear's head has been shrunken down considerably to make it look like he has a normal-sized head during this disguise. This scene leads to one of my favorite scenes from the three-parter. See, one thing about the Decepticons in the three-parter, they are actually very cunning, and they keep one step ahead of the Autobots, which is actually pretty interesting, and doesn't really happen for the rest of the series. Megatron is aware that this is a fake plant, so all of the Decepticons he brought are just dummies. They're just like, they're basically just like basic robots, which leads to a scene of the Autobots absolutely wrecking them. This is Skybound Transformer level of brutality. This is like the level of fragility they have in the live action movies. It's ridiculous. And if you go in forgetting that these Decepticons in the scene are fake, it's horrifying. It's horrifying to watch, Wheeljack punch Reflector and rip him into multiple pieces. It's like, you're a scientist, Wheeljack. You should not have that right hook. Speaking of getting decimated, Optimus Prime spends a good chunk of this losing. He got blown up at the end of episode 2 during episode 3 when he's trying to fly after the Decepticons with a jetpack, because apparently that's faster than the normal flight they had in these episodes. He gets shot down. During the ending of episode 3, by the way, his anger is like through the roof. Like, Peter Cullen had not learned like calm, collected Optimus Prime yet, so the frustration of the situation is obviously getting to him. So it's a little bit more humanizing of Prime, but it's also it sounds a little bit weird for him. Like, it just sounds like he's like not really like taking it well, as he shouldn't. The Autobots end up on the losing end of the first 3 episodes, especially, a lot. And it's not even Optimus who's the final hero, it's Mirage of all characters, who snuck aboard to sabotage the Decepticon ship. And then Mirage gets one episode after this where Cliffjumper thinks he's a traitor. That's the other shot that I should have included, the fact that Cliffjumper spends these 4 episodes very, very overconfident and usually gets slapped out of the way with no effort. Literally, that happens at one point in these episodes, so Cliffjumper just being gung-ho, that's another weird thing in these. But yeah, poor Mirage saved the day, recorded the first victory over the Decepticons on Earth, and yet later on we're going to suspect that he's a traitor for no reason, because story. And here's the oddest thing about them showing the first 4 episodes in theater. Here's the weird thing: they're not showing episode 5, because episode 5 directly follows the events of episode 4, and it has what I would consider the Autobots' first full defeat of the Decepticons. Like, their first complete victory over the Decepticons, where there's some trickery to it, but it's an overall just big fight where the Autobots actually do come out on top because they were a little bit more clever in the combat, rather than, Mirage sneaking in and sabotaging their ship, or, a lucky shot on Energon cubes that throws Megatron into the space bridge, and then Starscream takes over and leaves. Things like that, where it doesn't really feel like a complete victory over the Decepticons. The fifth episode, Roll For It, actually does feel like they very much soundly beat the Decepticons as a whole. And that's really kind of where I wish this would cap off. It's going to be like a 90-some minute event. They could have tacked on an extra 20 just to put a nice little bow on the whole thing. But you know what? That's how it goes. But you know what? It should still be a fun time. Like, just the novelty of seeing the episodes on a big screen is already super cool. And it's not a bad batch of 4 episodes to be airing either. I will take this over, something odd like, a theatrical release of Five Faces of Darkness and all of its animation quirks. It's not a bad idea for the 40th anniversary. I'm kind of looking forward to it. Let me know in the comments below if you're actually thinking of attending. Yeah, keep an eye out for some of the oddball stuff, because just due to the fact that they hadn't really finished creating the identity of the series, this goes into a lot of fascinating directions, so it's kind of interesting to rewatch, small or large screen. So that's the thoughts for the day. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you next time.